The massive fleet moved silently through the darkness of space. 9,900 warships, each carrying thousands of Varn soldiers, approached the Sol system. At the center of this armada, the flagship Eternal Victory led the way. Its sleek, dark hull absorbed the distant starlight as it pushed forward toward its target, Earth. Commander Deho stood on the bridge, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His eyes reflected the glow of the tactical displays surrounding him. The blue planet appeared as a small dot on the main screen, innocent and unaware of what was coming. "Status report," Deho ordered, his voice calm but firm. Sub-Commander Juri stepped forward. "All ships report ready, Commander. Stealth systems are functioning at peak efficiency. Earth's primitive detection systems show no signs of noticing our approach." Deho nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. After 73 successful planetary conquests, the Varn Dominion had perfected the art of invasion. Earth would be no different, just another world to add to their growing empire. "These humans," Deho said, studying the information scrolling across his personal display. "They've barely reached their own moon. Their technology is centuries behind ours. This will be quick." The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. None doubted the outcome. The Varn had never failed, and this small blue world with its fragmented nations and limited space presence seemed particularly vulnerable. As the fleet reached the outer edge of the solar system, they slowed. Following standard protocol, they would establish a staging area near Jupiter before launching the actual attack. The gas giant's massive gravitational field would help mask their presence while they made final preparations. "Commander," called out the sensor officer, "I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the third planet." Deho frowned. "Explain." "It appears to be regular power cycling across multiple locations, primarily on the dark side of the planet. The pattern suggests more advanced technology than our initial scans indicated." This was unusual but not concerning. Deho had encountered similar surprises before. Sometimes a primitive species might have pockets of more advanced technology, perhaps gifts from other spacefaring races or lucky discoveries. It never changed the outcome. "Send a scout ship," Deho ordered. "I want detailed information before we commit our first wave." Captain Hajun was selected to lead the scouting mission. His small vessel detached from the fleet and accelerated toward Earth, its stealth systems making it virtually invisible to conventional detection methods. "Remember," Deho told Hajun before departure, "observe only. Return within 48 Earth hours with your report. We need to know their defensive capabilities and the best targets for our first strike." Hajun nodded confidently. "It will be done, Commander." As the scout ship disappeared into the darkness, Deho returned to planning the invasion. The first wave would consist of 300 ships, more than enough to secure the planet's major population centers and military installations. The remaining vessels would follow once victory was assured. "Sub-Commander," Deho called to Juri, "prepare the invasion force. I want our soldiers ready to deploy as soon as we receive Hajun's report." The hours passed as the massive fleet orbited Jupiter. Deho grew increasingly impatient as the deadline for Hajun's return approached with no communication from the scout ship. "Attempt to contact Captain Hajun," he ordered. Communications Officer Taemin tried repeatedly but received no response. "Sir, the scout ship is not responding to any signals. Its tracking beacon has also gone silent." Deho's eyes narrowed. Equipment failure was rare but possible. More concerning was the possibility that the humans had somehow detected and disabled the scout ship, but that seemed impossible given their technological level. Prepare the first wave, Deho decided. If Hajun encountered difficulties, it was likely a natural phenomenon or equipment failure. There is no reason to delay our mission. As the 300 warships of the first wave broke formation and began their journey toward Earth, Deho felt a strange uneasiness. In all his years commanding the Varn invasion forces, he had never lost a scout ship. Still, he dismissed the feeling. What could one primitive planet possibly do against the might of 9,900 warships? The first wave accelerated toward Earth, weapons charged and invasion troops ready. Behind them, the rest of the fleet waited for the signal to follow. None of them suspected that they were flying into a trap that had been decades in the making. Captain Hajun's scout ship glided silently toward Earth. The blue planet grew larger in the viewscreen as they approached. His crew of 4 operated with efficient precision, each focused on their task of gathering intelligence about this supposedly primitive world. Maintain stealth protocols, Hajun reminded them. These humans shouldn't have the technology to detect us, but we take no unnecessary risks. Science Officer Minji studied her readings with growing confusion. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures across the planet's surface and in orbit. These patterns don't match our intelligence reports. Hajun moved to her station and examined the data. The humans were supposed to have only basic satellite technology and a small space station. But Minji's scan showed evidence of a much more substantial orbital presence, carefully disguised to appear like normal satellites. Could our information be outdated? Asked Navigation Officer Jinwoo. Hajun shook his head. The Dominion's last scan was only 5 years ago. A species doesn't advance this quickly without help. As the ship moved into a higher orbit for a better scanning position, Minji suddenly straightened in her seat. Captain! Energy spike directly ahead. Before Hajun could order evasive action, a pulse of invisible energy washed over the scout ship. Every system shut down simultaneously. The lights, engines, life support, and weapons all went dead. Only the emergency backup power activated, providing minimal life support and gravity. What happened? Hajun demanded, the red emergency lighting casting ominous shadows across his face. Some kind of targeted EMP, Minji replied, frantically trying to restart her console. But far more sophisticated than anything humans should possess. Jinwoo pointed at the viewscreen, which flickered with the backup power. Captain, look! A ship had appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. It was clearly of human design, but unlike anything in their intelligence files. It approached their disabled vessel with obvious purpose. Send the emergency signal to the fleet, Hajun ordered. Communications Officer Unsu shook her head. All communications are down. We can't warn Commander Daeho. On Earth, Director Sunmi watched the successful capture of the alien scout ship with satisfaction. The operation had gone flawlessly. Her team had detected the alien vessel the moment it entered Earth's outer detection grid, a network of sensors disguised as ordinary satellites. Bring it in, she ordered from the Global Defense Initiative headquarters hidden deep beneath a mountain in what was once called New Zealand. I want that ship intact with all crew secured. Colonel Kite nodded from his position at the tactical station. Tractor beam is locked on. The ship will be in our secure facility within 30 minutes. Sunmi turned to address the emergency session of world leaders connected via secure holographic transmission. 50 years ago, Earth's nations had discovered evidence of the Varn Dominion's expansion through intercepted communications. Instead of announcing this to the public, they had chosen a different path, secret preparation while maintaining the appearance of a technologically underdeveloped world. The first scout has been captured, Sunmi informed them. Based on their typical invasion patterns, we can expect a first wave of approximately 300 ships. And our defenses are ready, asked the president of the African Union. Yes, Kite confirmed. Orbital platforms are powered but dormant. Fleet assets are in position but running silent. Ground defenses are at full readiness but emitting no detectable energy signatures. Sunmi checked the time. We expect the first wave within 12 hours. The element of surprise is our greatest advantage. Meanwhile, aboard the captured scout ship, Hajun and his crew found themselves surrounded by humans in advanced combat armor. Despite their training, they were quickly subdued and separated. Hajun was taken to an interrogation room where he came face to face with Director Sunmi. I am Director Sunmi of Earth's Global Defense Initiative, she said calmly, speaking perfect Varn language. Your invasion will fail, Captain Hajun. Hajun's eyes widened in shock. How do you know my name? How do you speak our language? Sunmi smiled thinly. We've been studying your people for decades. We intercepted your communications, decoded your language, analyzed your technology. We know about the 9,900 ships waiting beyond Jupiter. Hajun tried to hide his surprise but failed. These humans should have been easy prey, not an informed adversary with technology advanced enough to capture a Varn scout ship. Commander Deho will crush your world, Hajun said defiantly. You've captured one small scout ship. You cannot stand against our armada. Sunmi leaned forward. Actually, Captain, we're counting on your commander to send his ships. We've prepared a special welcome for them. As if on cue, alarms began to sound. Colonel Kite rushed into the room. Director, we've detected movement. The first wave has launched from Jupiter and is heading our way. Sunmi stood. Perfect. Initiate Phase 1 of the defense plan. As Earth prepared for the incoming attack, Hajun realized with growing horror that his people were flying directly into a trap. The first wave of Varn ships approached Earth with supreme confidence. 300 warships, each a marvel of alien engineering, moved in perfect formation toward what they believed would be an easy conquest. Commander Deho watched from the safety of Jupiter's orbit, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Time until first contact, he asked. 20 minutes, Commander, replied Subcommander Juri. All ships report weapons ready. Ground invasion forces are standing by. Deho nodded with satisfaction. The lack of communication from Captain Hajun's scout ship was concerning, but not enough to delay the invasion. Perhaps some natural phenomenon had interfered with communications. Regardless, 300 warships would be more than enough to secure this primitive world. Strange, said the sensor officer suddenly. I'm detecting no attempts at communication from the humans. No military mobilization. It's as if they don't see us coming. Their detection systems are primitive, Deho reminded him. They probably won't know we're here until we're directly overhead. As the Varn fleet crossed the orbit of Earth's moon, an officer called out, Commander. Energy readings from Earth. There. His words were cut short as hundreds of previously invisible platforms suddenly appeared in Earth's orbit. For decades, these defense stations had remained hidden, consuming minimal power and disguised as space debris or small satellites. Now they awoke, their weapons systems powering up with startling speed. Impossible, gasped Juri as the tactical display updated. Those platforms weren't there a moment ago. On Earth, Director Sunmi stood in the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching Varn fleet. Activate all orbital defenses, she ordered calmly. Target propulsion systems first, weapons second. Colonel Kite nodded and relayed the order. Within seconds, the orbital platforms fired in perfect coordination. Beams of concentrated energy sliced through space, striking the unsuspecting Varn ships with devastating precision. Aboard the lead Varn vessel, Captain Yijun barely had time to shout a warning before his ship was hit. Evasive maneuvers. Raise shields. But the attack had been perfectly timed and positioned. 30 Varn ships lost propulsion instantly. Another 50 suffered critical damage to their weapons systems. Before they could organize a proper response, a second wave of attacks hit them. From Earth's surface, concealed launch facilities opened. Hundreds of interceptor craft rose into the sky, small but incredibly fast. These were Earth's frontline defense fighters, built using a combination of reverse-engineered alien technology and human innovation. Major Jean watched his squadron's deployment from the cockpit of his lead fighter. Remember your training, he told his pilots over the com. Their ships are larger and more powerful, but we're faster and they don't expect resistance. Use that surprise. The Earth fighters engaged the much larger Varn vessels, darting between them with incredible agility. Their weapons were designed specifically to target Varn shield frequencies, a secret Earth had discovered by studying intercepted Varn communications. Back at Jupiter, Commander Deho watched in horror as his tactical display showed ship after ship going dark or sending distress signals. This is impossible, he whispered. How could they have such advanced defenses? How could we not know? Sir, Juri's voice was strained, we've lost contact with over 100 ships already. The humans have orbital platforms with energy weapons beyond our shielding capabilities. They also have fighters, hundreds of them, and ground-based weapons targeting our lower ships. On Earth, Captain Hajun watched the battle unfold on a screen in his holding cell. Director Sunmi had allowed him to see what was happening, a psychological tactic to demoralize him. It was working. How? He asked when Sunmi entered the room. How did Earth prepare like this without the Dominion knowing? Sunmi's expression remained neutral. We detected your communications decades ago. We learned your language, studied your technology, and prepared while deliberately appearing primitive. Every satellite launch we publicized was basic technology. Our real advancements remained hidden underground or disguised in orbit. In space, the battle continued to go badly for the Varn. Their numerical advantage meant little against an enemy who had studied their tactics and technology for years and prepared specific countermeasures. Major Jin's fighter squadron executed a perfect attack run on a Varn cruiser, their specialized weapons overloading its shield generators. Target neutralized, he reported calmly. By the 1-hour mark, over 200 of the 300 Varn ships had been disabled or destroyed. The survivors began to retreat, transmitting desperate warnings back to the main fleet. Commander Deho received these messages with growing rage and disbelief. His perfect record of conquests was being shattered by a species that should have been easy prey. He made a decision that would prove fatal. Prepare all remaining ships, he ordered, his voice cold with fury. We will commit our entire force. These humans have clearly received help from some other species. No primitive world develops defenses like this on their own. We will crush them with overwhelming numbers. As the rest of the Varn fleet began to move from Jupiter, Director Sunmi smiled grimly at her command staff. They're committing the full armada, she announced. Prepare the quantum field generators. Phase 2 begins now. The remaining 9,600 Varn warships moved through space like a massive dark cloud approaching Earth. Commander Deho stood rigid on the bridge of the Eternal Victory, his face set in grim determination. The humiliating defeat of his first wave had struck at his pride. Now, he would unleash the full might of the Varn Dominion. All ships, attack formation, he commanded. No mercy. Reduce their orbital defenses to dust. Then target major cities and military installations. The massive fleet spread out, creating an attack formation designed to overwhelm any defense system through sheer numbers. Behind his calm expression, Deho felt a flicker of doubt. How had these humans hidden such advanced technology? It shouldn't have been possible. Sir, we're receiving the last transmissions from our surviving first-wave ships, reported Subcommander Jury. They warn of unusual weapons, something that interferes with our shield frequencies. Too late for warnings, Deho replied coldly. Our numbers will overwhelm them. 9,000 ships against their handful of platforms. On Earth, Director Sunmi watched the approaching armada on the holographic display. The sheer size of the Varn fleet was breathtaking, a wall of ships that seemed to go on forever. Several officers in the command center looked nervous. Even with their preparations, facing such overwhelming numbers was daunting. They're angry now, Sunmi observed calmly. They'll come straight at us, hoping to overwhelm our defenses through brute force. Colonel Kite nodded. That's what we planned for. Quantum field generators are at full charge. Waiting for your command. Sunmi checked the positions of Earth's defense fleet. Major Jean and the other squadron leaders had pulled back to defensive positions around the orbital platforms. Everything was in place. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in hardened bunkers on every continent, engineers activated the most secret weapon humanity had developed. For decades, Earth scientists had worked to understand and manipulate the quantum field, the underlying fabric of reality itself. What they created wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It didn't fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, it changed the rules of physics within a defined area of space. As the Varn fleet approached Earth's orbit, they suddenly encountered something unprecedented. Ship systems began failing in impossible ways. Weapons charged but wouldn't fire. Engines ran at full power but ships slowed down. Communications systems received messages from ships that didn't exist. What's happening? Daiho demanded as the Eternal Victory systems began showing contradictory readings. Engineering. Report. The chief engineer's voice came through filled with confusion. Commander, something is affecting the quantum field around us. The laws of physics themselves seem to be changing. Hundreds of Varn ships suddenly found themselves unable to maintain their position in space. Some drifted helplessly. Others spun out of control. Weapons systems fired randomly or not at all. Communications became garbled nonsense. Major Jean and his fighter squadrons darted through the chaos, targeting the ships that still maintained control. Focus on their command vessels, he ordered his pilots. The quantum field affects their larger ships more severely. The space around Earth became a graveyard of drifting, powerless Varn ships. Those that maintained some control found themselves under attack from Earth's defense platforms and fighters. In just 2 hours, over 3,000 Varn vessels had been neutralized. On the flagship, Commander Daiho watched with growing horror as his mighty armada fell apart around him. How is this possible? He whispered. His tactical display showed ships failing by the hundreds. What kind of weapon can do this? Subcommander Juri looked up from her station, her face pale. Sir, it's not just one weapon. They're somehow manipulating the fundamental forces within space itself. Our scientists say it's impossible, yet it's happening. In the Earth Command Center, Director Sunmi monitored the battle alongside Colonel Kite. The quantum field generators were working even better than expected. The Varn ships, with their highly sophisticated technology, were actually more vulnerable to the field effects than simpler machines. Their technology depends on precise quantum interactions, explained Chief Scientist Youngho. By introducing controlled chaos into the quantum field, we've essentially turned their advanced technology against them. Some Varn ships attempted to adapt, shutting down non-essential systems and reconfiguring their engines. A group of about 2,000 vessels managed to maintain enough control to launch a counterattack against one of Earth's orbital defense clusters. Northern Defense Cluster is under heavy attack, reported an officer. Quantum field effect is weakening in that sector. Generator 3 is overheating. Sunmi made a quick decision. Redirect power from sectors 4 and 5. Have Major Jin's squadrons reinforce the northern cluster. As the battle entered its 5th hour, the outcome was becoming clear. The mighty Varn armada, once 9,900 ships strong, was being systematically disabled. Some vessels managed to destroy a few Earth platforms and fighters, but they were fighting against an enemy that had literally changed the rules of engagement. Commander Daiho finally faced the unthinkable. For the first time in his long career, he would have to retreat. All functioning ships, he broadcast, his voice heavy with defeat, disengage and retreat beyond the quantum effect. Rendezvous at the backup coordinates. As the surviving Varn ships struggled to escape, Earth's defenders pressed their advantage. The largest invasion fleet in known history was being decimated by a world that had appeared defenseless. Only 73 Varn ships escaped Earth's solar system. They limped away with damaged systems, carrying the shocked survivors of what had been the mightiest invasion force ever assembled. Commander Daiho's flagship, the once proud Eternal Victory, now barely functional, led this ragged fleet of retreating vessels. Daiho sat alone in his private chamber, staring at the final battle statistics on his personal display. The numbers seemed impossible: 9,827 ships lost. Over 2 million crew members dead or captured. The greatest military disaster in the history of the Varn Dominion, and it had happened under his command. There was a soft chime at his door. "Enter," he said wearily. Subcommander Juri stepped inside. Her uniform was wrinkled, her face drawn with exhaustion. "Commander, engineering reports that faster-than-light travel will be possible within 6 hours. We can begin the journey home." Home, Daiho repeated the word bitterly. "To report the greatest defeat our people have ever known. Sir, no one could have predicted what happened. The humans had technology we didn't know existed. They fooled our intelligence for decades." Daiho shook his head. That will be little comfort to the families of 2 million dead. On Earth, the mood was mixed. There was celebration, yes, but also solemn recognition of what had been accomplished and what it meant for humanity's future. Earth's nations had successfully defended their planet, but they had also revealed themselves to the wider galaxy. Director Sunmi stood before the Global Defense Council, the 50 leaders who had guided Earth's secret preparations for the past 5 decades. The immediate threat has been neutralized, she reported. 73 enemy ships escaped. Given their condition, they will need at least 6 months to return to Varn space. And they will tell others what happened here, said the European Federation president. We are now known to the galaxy. Colonel Kite stepped forward with his assessment. We captured 3,719 intact or mostly intact Varn vessels. Our teams are already studying their technology. The quantum field defense exceeded expectations, but it's not a permanent solution. The Varn or others will develop countermeasures. Then we must be ready, Sunmi stated firmly. The time for hiding is over. We need to establish a stronger presence in our solar system and prepare to make contact with other civilizations, hopefully more peaceful ones than the Varn. In the secure medical facility where the captured Varn crew members were being treated, Captain Hajun watched Earth news broadcasts with growing amazement. The humans were not celebrating with bloodlust or showing off their victory. Instead, their leaders spoke of moving forward, of joining the galactic community, of learning from this first contact. A human doctor entered his room. How are you feeling today, Captain? She asked kindly. Confused, Hajun admitted. Why did your people hide your true capabilities for so long? You could have made contact with other peaceful species. You could have traded, learned, grown. The doctor checked his vital signs before answering. Our leaders detected your Dominion's communications decades ago. We learned that you conquered every world you encountered. Would you have respected us if we had reached out in peace? Hajun had no answer for that. 6 months later, the surviving Varn ships finally reached their home territory. News of their catastrophic defeat spread quickly through the Dominion's 73 conquered worlds. Many saw it as a sign that the Varn were not invincible after all. In the Grand Council chamber on the Varn homeworld, Commander Deho stood before the supreme leadership to give his report. His once prestigious career was over, but he would tell the truth. Earth is not what we thought, he explained. The humans hid their true technological level while studying us. They knew we were coming and prepared specifically to counter our methods. They did not just defeat us, they outsmarted us at every turn. The supreme leader leaned forward. And you believe they will come for us now? Seek revenge? Deho considered this. No. From what I observed, they are more interested in defense than conquest. But they will no longer hide. They will establish themselves as a power in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, the first official human diplomatic vessels prepared to launch. Built with technology that combined human innovation with lessons learned from the captured Varn ships, these vessels would seek out peaceful contact with other civilizations. Director Sunmi watched the launch from the observatory deck. Colonel Kite stood beside her. Do you think we're ready for this? He asked. Sunmi nodded slowly. We've been preparing for decades. We defended our world against overwhelming odds. Now it's time to show the galaxy that humans can be more than just good defenders. We can be good neighbors too. As Earth's ships departed, carrying messages of peace and cooperation, the planet continued its preparations. New defense systems were being constructed throughout the solar system. The captured Varn technology was being adapted for human use. Education systems worldwide now included information about extraterrestrial life and cultures. Humanity had faced its first great galactic challenge and prevailed. The species that had sent 9,900 ships to conquer Earth would never forget the lesson they had learned: never underestimate humans.